I will say this. I was very disappointed at how that series ended. I picked the Bucks to win the whole thing, and they got bounced by the Heat, and the Bucks are the 1 seed. I love what Giannis said. I vehemently disagree with what he said, but I love what he said. The reason I love what he said while disagreeing with it is I love the aspect of Giannis not allowing a shortcoming, not allowing what I would qualify as a failure to hold him down, to discourage him. He views it all as one long process towards an arduous journey of championships. I respect it. I respect the mindset of a person who is a complete and total overachiever. Giannis Antetokounmpo, born of Nigerian parents in Greece and is a top 15 player in the history of the National Basketball Association before the age of 30. If that is his mindset and if that works for him, shout out to him and kudos to him. Now, why I don't agree with it is very simple. If you set a goal of winning a championship, which the Bucks did, and Giannis said post-game that they had a goal of winning a championship, and you don't win the championship, then in my mind, that's a failure. I don't set goals, though. So I don't believe in all that nonsense. But if you do set a goal, it's now pass-fail. I loved what Giannis said because I love looking into the mindset of somebody who has overachieved the entirety of his life. And I'm not going to knock his mindset because his mindset made him a top 15 player in basketball by the age of 28, 29. So I ain't got no issues with it. I just don't agree with it. 2-5, where you stand?
Give your boy some tissues. Give your boy some tissues for all that sad stuff. Listen, this is what I'm going to say about Giannis, right? If this was Kevin Durant and he went out like this, every sports channel will be ripping him apart. Am I lying?
No.
It's Giannis, he's a nice guy, they love him and all that. No. Let's cut the chase. First of all, with your guy Giannis, they played against the AFC Heat, right? Jimmy Butler and the rest of the guys. I'm gonna keep it real. Jimmy Butler and the rest of the guys. Seven undrafted players in basketball.
Get to your point.
Okay, so that's one part. How is it not a failure when y'all the #1 seed? Supposedly he the MVP, right? That's what you love to say?
Yeah, he's 2 times.
Okay,
Twice.
so you have the MVP on your team. You have all-stars on your team, okay? Y'all playing the AFC, a team that was just in a play-in, just trying to get in the playoffs. They smoked y'all 4-1, right? This 2 times in this series, they were up by double digits, 16 points and 14 points going into the 4th quarter, and y'all lose? And you gonna sit up there on TV talking about that's not a failure? Now, granted, he talked about Michael Jordan, right? He had, 15 seasons? 9 he lost, and 6 won 6 championships? Cool. That's true. That's not a failure. I get what he's saying. But when we talk about a particular game, a series, where y'all a favorite to win against the AFC? And another thing, how is it that Jimmy Butler, right, who they don't like to respect as a true star, which he really is, but they don't give him that credit.
Sure.
He going off for 40 points, 30 points. You Mr. MVP and you don't guard him?
I agree.
When you flip sides, when every player start going off for the Bucks, Jimmy Butler was guarding them. Oh, you getting busy? I'm guarding you. Oh, I'm guarding you. Why you didn't do that? And then your excuse was the coach didn't let you, but you the MVP? I'm not buying that. That's a failure. I'm not going to let you get up here and act like that's an excuse. You don't get no pass. If that was LeBron James, that was Steph Curry, if that was Kevin Durant, you would be on this case.
So you say it's a failure?
Man, that's a failure. And listen, I do like what he was saying, but that's cool for like a Disney Channel or Disney show. You got a 7th grader trying to make the team, and he got cut. Give him that story. It's not a failure. Keep working hard. Not the NBA, bro. Now you the MVP. I'm not buying that.
I was on the 7th grade B team in basketball. I wish I had that message at the time.
Yeah, it helps well.
I would have benefited. Jordan, where do you stand on it? Giannis is saying that wasn't a failure. How do you feel?
It's absolutely a failure.
Keep it 100.
Objectively, it's a failure for all the reasons that Shady just said. It's the 8 seed. You the #1 seed. Look at your team. Look at the Heat. Jimmy and the guys. All right? you didn't lose in 7, which would have still been a failure. It's a gentleman's sweep. They did like this. They weren't even supposed to be there. They don't have their 2 best players, and their 2 best players got them the 8th seed. It's outrageous. Now, I don't have a problem with the question. Anyone else in that room would have asked the question. If he didn't ask it, another reporter would have asked it because it's a fair question to ask. If you have expectations, if you are aspirational, and if you have goals. Giannis's response is fair. That's how he views it. I'm not going to tell Giannis how to look at losing and winning. That's fine that he feels that way. But objectively speaking, this is a failure. You were supposed to win this series. You were picked to win the championship by a lot of people. You were one of the 3 best players in the league, according to the MVP standings.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
I can't even call Jimmy Butler a superstar without getting yelled at. And it's not a failure to lose to the Miami Heat in 5. Heat and Five, by the way. New name. Look, I can't. My takeaway issue is this. It's really what Shady started with. If this was Kevin Durant,
Come on.
if this was Steph Curry, if this was LeBron James, if LeBron said that, and LeBron has said things like this before, and we have evidence that he was dragged for it. If LeBron said this, it would be a book the next month. Losing Isn't Failure by LeBron James. They would have podcasts, they would have billboards. It would be the apocalypse if LeBron said this. And that's sort of my issue. Like, let's just keep the same energy. If we're not going to be upset with Giannis for having this mentality on winning and losing, which is he's totally entitled to do, then if someone else says it, if KD says it, if LeBron says it, if Steph says it, let's just keep that same energy. Now, we won't. And that's really what bothers me about it.
I will.
It's not that, I know you were shady. It's not that Giannis is wrong. It's not that the reporter is wrong. It's not that anyone who has an opinion about him, about this season being a failure or a success is wrong. It's just that we don't keep the same energy for everybody, and that's a problem. Like, their coach is probably going to get fired. They lost in the first round to the worst team in the playoffs, as far as record goes. Objectively speaking, it is a failure.
I would say this, though, Slick. We don't keep the same energy for athletes, but athletes don't keep the same energy for us. And so, as a result, we don't treat athletes all the same because athletes don't treat the media all the same. Athletes don't treat people all the same. Athletes relate to media differently. So that would be my reason, because you are right. If Kevin Durant said it, it'd be a wrap. If LeBron said it, it'd be a wrap. If Steph said it, I'm interested. You cover Bay Area sports. We'll get to that later. But give me your first opinion on Giannis, two-time MVP. Finals MVP, a top 20 player at worst in the history of the game, losing to the 8-seed Heat, saying it's not a failure. Break it down.
Well, what he's expressing, and I didn't know that I was going to end up here, but you two have beaten up Acho so badly that I just can't jump off the top rope and finish him off, is that I know that what he is saying, and I think you've seen it as a result of the response by a lot of other NBA players on social media. He is expressing a viewpoint that I know a lot of NBA players have. And it was something that B.J. Armstrong, who we've had on the show, told me about, which is you look at it as a process. You don't go game to game because there's just too many NBA games. It's too long. It would be too emotionally draining to go up and down with every win or loss. So you look at it as a process of just getting to the end and being as best as you can be. And if you're not, then you go into the next season. How can we be better than we were before? You don't judge it on that pass-fail attitude. Now, all of that said, you are a championship team 2 years ago.
Right. Yep.
You had the best record in the league. You just lost 4 straight to a sub-500 team that had 3 of its players foul out, and you lost in overtime. This isn't a learning process.
Yeah.
They just did the same damn thing to you a game ago.
Correct.
So to go up there and say, hey, this is part of the process. No, you're supposed to be better than this at this point. So he can wax philosophic and he can take that approach, but this was not the time.
I actually agree with everybody on here. It was a failure. But to me, the reason it was a failure is because allowing Jimmy Butler to score with 2.1 seconds left, failure. Not guarding Jimmy Butler after Jimmy Butler cooked you for 56 points the game before, failure. You want to pass the ball with 10 seconds left with the game on the line, failure. You don't want to get up off the ground with 3 seconds left after you pass the ball with 10 seconds left, failure. So from a microscopic perspective, I believe it was a failure. But to Joy's point, to my original point, when you look at the macro and you take a step back, I think it's pass-fail. Only one team will have succeeded this season. And because there's only one champion, to internalize losing is failing means you're going to have a whole lot of failing in your life, and that's a whole lot of weight for an elite athlete to carry. So, Joy, if he wants to reframe it, Giannis. Protect yourself, because what you've done has been working better than anybody really in the world.
Yeah, but I think leadership requires you not getting too high or too low in any sport. But
True.
The question wasn't asked, was this game a failure? The reporter didn't ask him if his career was a failure. He asked if this season was a failure. The answer is yes. Or you didn't have any expectations. This is competition. This isn't like, we're just hanging out trying to learn life lessons. this is competition. You win or you lose. You were expected to lose. Expected to win. You should have won. You have all the pieces to win. You were champions 2 years ago. You're a two-time MVP. We don't even know if you've won another MVP yet. We're assuming that he hasn't won another MVP. This was a specific question that he magnified to macro. And it's now being looked at as if it was the wrong question to ask him. And it wasn't. He asked him very specifically, was this season a failure? Yes, this season was a failure. And he can have his own philosophy on winning and losing. And at the end of his career, we may look back at this particular moment, depending on how the rest of it goes, but we probably won't. It'll just be a downturn, and that's fine. But the man didn't ask him, hey, is your life a failure because you just lost to the Heat in 5? That wasn't the question.
True.
It was, is this season a failure? It is. You shouldn't have lost that way. Your coach might get fired. You have all the pieces that you need to go on another championship run, and not only did you get it done, you lost to a team that should absolutely not have even been hanging with you for real. So you had to stop one guy.
Lost 4 straight.
4 straight.
To a team
Stop
that
one guy.
Come on, man.
Stop one guy. Stop. That's all you have to do.
He was still there.
They could have just surrounded Jimmy and just followed him in a circle around the court. Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.